everybody. My name is Dr. Mully. I am the academic dean at the European Business University. I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm not talking to myself, but since I can see Nancy smiling, because I've not seen her in such a long time, I know that she can hear me. We have 107 people already on board. I think we're expecting quite a few more coming up. But before I move on, I just want to acknowledge some people who are here. We have Mr. Kirti Joshi, who is present. I think his class is just finishing off. He's also, Mr. Joshi is also on our board of trustees, is still the current, if I'm not mistaken, chairperson. But I just want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge also, we have our Chief Administration Officer, Kubra Erden, who is also here. And of course, I want to acknowledge all the students who are here. So welcome to everybody. Sorry, we do have Ann Matati is here. She's our Certificate Impact Program Manager. And I can go through the whole list of people here. I'll just say Tasmin. I know the name Tasmin because Tasmin, you wrote a couple of things on the website, or I should say on the Moodle platform for Miss Lippert, correct? I didn't hear much from anybody else, so I'll just say that. I'm not going to take up too much. Good evening, Tasmin. Good evening. I'm not going to take up too much time because we have an agenda, and our agenda, of course, is Nancy Lhoest-Squicciarini. Not many people know how to pronounce her name, but I've worked with her for a long time, so I know how to pronounce her name, right? So before we even get to her, I'd like to invite Kubra Erden to introduce Nancy and have this floor taken away. Kubra?
Thank you so much, James. It will be a pleasure. So, dear students, it's a pleasure to introduce you to our passionate and enthusiastic educator who has been dedicated over 3 decades to the field of education. Nancy is just a superwoman who wakes up each day with a burning desire to make a positive impact on the students' learning. With a motivating and personable approach, Nancy has implemented and facilitated a wide range of strategies, learning opportunities, and experiences. So please join me in welcoming a true education champion who will inspire us with her wisdom and experience. Please, Nancy, the floor is yours.
Kubra, it's so nice to be here. Dr. Mully, I am honored and privileged to be part of your community for tonight. So hello, everyone. I'm saying greetings from Luxembourg. So thank you for letting me join your class. This is going to be a very short presentation, but I'm just giving a little bit of insight of how curriculum resonates with me and in terms of our impact as educators when it comes to education and why we're even in education. What is really our purpose and what do we want to connect to? What is it that we want to make that impact? So I'm going to start off by doing something because I know there's over 121 people in this room today. So right now, I'm just going to ask you to, if you had to describe yourself in 6 words, just 6 words, think of that quietly to yourself for a moment. You can think of it within an educator. You could do it personally, but think of only 6 words to describe yourself. And do that silently to yourself, please. While we're doing that, we're going to think of your 6 words, please. That got us a little into the group. Does everyone have their 6 words? Put a thumbs up. All right. So think about that. Keep it. I'm going to share my 6 words. I live in Luxembourg. And my first priority is always my family. I feel like that keeps me grounded. It's my pillar of who I am. I am an educator, thank you, Kubra, for 37 years. And my heart is really curriculum design. That is my area of expertise. I like to think I'm enthusiastic because I know that I feel like there's the energy of a room that really elevates who I am as an individual. And I do believe in the power of relationships in terms of impacting who and what we are as educators. So does everyone have their 6 words? Yes. So I want you to type it in the chat, but don't press return until I count to 3. So let's give everyone some processing time. Type your 6 words in the chat, but don't press return yet. 5, 4, 3, okay, 2. Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, press return. Let's see who we have in the room. Oh, we have, I'm someone focused on life, beautiful. Kirti, Indian cricket lover. Oh, I love cricket, but I don't always understand the rules. Goal-oriented, lifelong learner, respectful, loving, and kind. Oh, I want to meet you. Energetic. I love it. Family, entrepreneur, motivator, and ambitious. Latoria, I love what you wrote. Such passionate words. Family, humanity. Ah, you just summed up. Mutisam, you just described why we just did this. When we talk about curriculum design, when we're thinking about who and what we are as educators, it goes back to humanity. It goes back to connections, and that everything we do about curriculum should be about impacting positively student learning. So you might think, why? This is a college course. We're talking about 6 words. It's a reminder that everything we do goes back to the humanity and how the decisions we make as an educator and what it does to a child's well-being, academic, and social. So thank you for that. I'm glad. So now we're going to collaborate a bit. And I just want to make sure that we know that when we are collaborating, we always have positive intent. I like to think we're going to have we're going to have a breakout session. And when we do, we want to make sure that we have equal voice. And you know why? Because that respects and validates others. Communicate. I know we have a big group. I don't know how we might be able to get some questions, but put it in the chat. And I think that might be a more effective way. And maybe Dr. Mully can help me if there's a few questions, and be present. I know that this is kind of late. Some people are tired, but we're going to try to be present in terms of mind and body. So thank you for that as we go on. So I was asked tonight to look at what are the key principles that underpin effective curriculum design. And as I said, I think curriculum design is the core of every learning organization. And that's why the course that you're taking is so powerful, because of the impact it has on all stakeholders. So when I look at curriculum, if you were to Google research or curriculum, you would get millions of, let's say, list of different resources and books that you could have. It gets overwhelming. I'm going to share with 1 or 2 that I think really make a difference in terms of looking at education. And the one is the Sustainable Goals. How many people are familiar with the UN Sustainable Goals? Just put your hand up. We have a few. Yes, well done. So number 4 is about equality education, and it aims to ensure that we have inclusive and equitable quality education and to promote lifelong opportunities for all. That's powerful. So UNESCO then decided, how are we going to define curriculum to ensure that this sustainable goal of being equitable and promoting lifelong learners gets promoted globally? So if you want to read a really good paper, and I don't recommend a lot of papers, but this one is quite good. It's from UNESCO, and it talks about what makes a quality education. And what I love about it is there is a simple definition of curriculum. Now, I do see, and I know, I think Dr. Miller is going to help me. We have hands raised already. My goodness, put it in the chat, everyone, and we hope to get to those questions. I love the enthusiasm. Dr. Miller, you have an incredible group of students who are already motivated with questions. So looking at this curriculum document, what a simple way to look at curriculum. we're saying that it's the what, the why, and the how. Because again, if you were to Google definition of curriculum, sometimes you get very, very lengthy statements. But the most important thing is, do you know what it means? And here is UNESCO literally stating in this document that curriculum in its simplest form is the what, the why, and the how. Now I want us to stop for a minute. There's one word that I think is most important out of three. The why. Why do we have this curriculum? That's the question. The rationale. And within this course, should you be knowing the why? Why is it making an impact? Why are you designing curriculum the way you are? Now, most of you, I believe, are familiar with Simon Sinek, because I know in another class, you might have seen his golden circle, which I'll show you. How many people, put your hand up if you are familiar with Simon's work, Start with the Why. Ah, great, I see a few. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Those, because you have so many, I wasn't going to show the video because I knew that this was you were already familiar with it, but it provides this framework of an organization to move forward. And it always starts with the why. And when I look at it, and as many of you already said, you're familiar with it. Why do you do what you do? Your core purpose. Then you're wondering specific actions, the behaviors that guide the decision-making. And then once you work out of the golden circle, you're looking at the what. What actions will you take to then impact the how and the why? But the most important aspect of the golden circle is really starting with the why. So you're probably wondering, Nancy, what does this have to do with education and curriculum design? It has everything to do with it. Because if we took it a step further, let's now translate it and transcribe it to curriculum. First, why? Why do you teach what you teach? How? Which pedagogies should you inform your practice? How do you make that decision? Is it because that's the way it's always been done? What is your decision-making process for the how? And the next is thinking about, how do you choose what to teach? So think about that for a minute. Why do you teach? And if you want, I always like having paper around me. I always take notes. Jot down some ideas. And if you want, why don't we all do this if you have paper? Everyone get a pad, make your own circle. So I'm going to have my 3 circles. And right now, think about, could you answer, why do you teach what you teach? And put that right in the center of your circle. Why is it that you teach what you teach right now? And I'm going to write it down. And then in your next circle, you're going to say, which pedagogies, what are those teaching strategies should inform your practice? This is how you're teaching. But it's more than just how you teach. Why did you pick those practices? Is it because that's the way you were taught? Or is it because of an impact in terms of professional learning, peer observation? Why is it? These are the pedagogies that you're using. And then lastly, on the outer circle, how do you choose what to teach? Now you might say, I have to. That's what I was told to do. But this course, if I remember Dr. Bowling telling me, the name of this course is Curriculum Design and Instructional Decision Making. So this is something you should be aware of in terms of being with this process and with this course of the why, going back to starting with the why. Because if you can't justify that as an educator, how do you communicate that to your stakeholders? Stakeholders meaning parents, board members, but most importantly, forget those two. We like the parents and the board, but what about your students? Do we say that we're doing a certain course because we have to, or we're looking at what the Sustainable Development Goal 4 stated? We want to make lifelong learners. So think about that. And guess what? You are now going to meet each other. because what I would like us to do now is you're going to go into a breakout room, and I think I could do them. I don't know who will. I can always make the breakout rooms with no more than I can do them 4, because we want you to talk. But what I would love you to do is get your notes and think about, what do you teach? Why do you teach what you teach? How should we teach? Why is it that you're teaching a certain way? And what's really worth teaching? Now, as I started, when you remember, I talked about when we go into the breakout rooms, we want to ensure that we have equal voice, because that shows that we validate and respect others within that conversation. You'll have 10 minutes with a 1-minute count, about 10 minutes, because I know it's already 5:33, so I don't want to make sure I don't take up too much, but I think it's important that you first reflect on this quietly, because everyone has different processing time, but also to think about, can you articulate this? So I'm going to stop sharing. Has everyone, they have their notes? We're good? Give me a hands up if we're good with the notes. I see some hands. Thank you. Wonderful. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to make some breakout rooms. And you can be focusing on your notes. And when you're in there, please make sure you introduce yourselves as well. Say hello. I think that's really important in terms of that building connections and communities. So let's see, we have 128 divided by 4. We're going to have like 31 rooms. I will let you capture that last one, but I'll also put it in the chat, in the broadcast. So I will put it back on for you. So thank you for saying that. Okay, we have 4 in a room, which is fabulous. We're going to be in there for 10 minutes. Make sure you say hello. So you'll have 10 minutes, and you're going to have a 60-second countdown. So you don't need to come back until after that countdown. And let me, before I do that, I think someone wanted to see the screen again. How is that? So this is what you're going to be talking to. If you want, sometimes people take a picture with their camera so they have it, or you have your notes from you drawing your own circle. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to stop sharing now. Can I see a thumbs up from reaction if we understand? We have some thumbs up. Thank you for those who are writing to me directly saying good. Thank you. You're all wonderful. Remember, validate and humanity within the, and please, if possible, when you are in the breakout room, please put your camera on. It's nice to see someone that you speak to. I understand when you have 100 in a room, it's much more, you really don't want to put your camera on, but within the small rooms, please, if you're able to with your Wi-Fi, I know Wi-Fi is sometimes difficult, you're not able to. So we have the rooms of 4 for 11 minutes. Enjoy this conversation, get to know another, and we're talking about the why. Okay, everyone, I'm going to open up the rooms. Room is just closing now, so thank you. So good to see. I see some smiles on people where the camera's on. That's beautiful to see, so thank you. I love seeing the smiles. I make everyone put on their camera for a second just to give a smile to one another. It makes such a difference. Hamzat, you have a beautiful smile. What a gorgeous smile you have. Love it. Thank you for that. Okay, I think everyone's back. All right. First of all, in the chat, let's say something, just a compliment to the people that you worked with. You know, it's always nice to hear about a positive collaboration. So in the chat, put out your breakout room and just say thank you, just something to acknowledge that you had just a really enjoyable, but also impactful conversation. So put some nice comments in the chat to say hello to the people that you had in your breakout room you had for the last 11 minutes. Oh, I love what people are saying. Thank you, group 15. Thank you for sharing your perspective. What a blessing, the great why. Thank you so much. That's great. Oh, that was from the European University. That's all. I know, that's Kubra. Wonderful. Isn't that nice to start just to have a little, just knowing that you made an impact on people with their conversation. So right now, why do you teach what you teach? Right now, Put in the chat, what was it that your group came up with in terms of why do you teach what you teach? The why, the most important, this is where we start from. Thinking of what Simon said of starting with the why. This is the pillar of what we do as educators, that rationale. So what is it that we do? Put in the chat, everyone. Why do you teach what you teach? Great conversation, beautiful. I love these compliments. Group 20, you were just amazing. So what is it? Why do you teach what you teach? The name of the course is Decision Making and Curriculum Design. Thank you. Kanina said to fill the, I'm going to read what I just wrote. What did I said? To be with the students, beautiful. To fill the identified learning gaps in the pupils. Well done. Thank you for sharing that great insight. To pass on knowledge to people to get digital skills, give knowledge, shape careers, beautiful. We should save this chat, Dr. Molly. These are incredible ideas. When we're looking at the why, when we're looking at any type of organization of what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I'm going to take a step back from the knowledge, back from the skills. And this is really should be with any learning organization. This is what we strive for, is that the schools or the organization's mission, values, that should be providing that philosophical basis and relates to everything you have about learning. So when you're looking at the university's mission and values, did that resonate with you? Well, if that resonated with you, that should permeate in everything that the university does. And that is what affects all the development, the curriculum, the lesson plan, always goes back to the organization's mission and values. That's the pillar. That is the why when it comes to looking at education. And then you work with the how and the what. But it always goes down to looking at, because if we don't go back to what that organization stands for, philosophically, the values, the missions, what happens is when people lose their way, they lose their why. That regardless of who is leading that organization, that should be the culture of that institution. So that's why when cultures are based upon an individual, and if an individual leaves that organization, and if then the stakeholders lose their way, it's because it was not embedded. So we're looking at, so when people lose their way, that's when they lose their why. So to conclude, whenever a curriculum is adopted and looking at your course, and I was looking at really, you have very, very powerful terms of objectives for that course. Anytime your curriculum, it must align with the mission and values of your school. That is your why. So even when you go back to your school tomorrow, do me a favor, walk around and reflect. What evidence do you have that indicates an alignment between the school's curriculum and the mission and values? Do a walk and talk with someone at your school. Have a copy of your mission and values on your phone and say, can you find evidence that aligns our mission and values with what we see going on in the classroom? So to bring it to a close, we started off with what are the key principles that underpin effective curriculum design? And I want to say that I'm going to have you stop for a minute and just reflect, looking at the learning that we just went through, the why, the circles in terms of the connection and the mission statement. Think about what underpins effective curriculum design. Take a moment. And now, think of one word of how you feel right now. You've been able to connect with colleagues in the class. You just had a mini lesson from me, so thank you for this opportunity. It was very kind of you to engage. But right now, think of one word, but type it in the chat, but don't press return yet. How are you feeling right now in terms of going to your class next week, but even tomorrow? Do a walk and talk. Have your mission, What evidence aligns with your, and even if you look at your curriculum. So on the count, does everyone have a word? Put a thumbs up of how you're feeling right now. Oh, I love, Izzy said motivated. 1, 2, 3, put that word in the chat, everyone. Grateful, excited, empowered. Oh, I love this flow. Motivated, refreshed, enriched. You are all wonderful. What a group, Dr. Molly. This is an amazing group. Empowered. You are empowered. And this was such a simple 30-minute discussion, but it was more impactful because we're going to who and what why are we doing what we do as educators, which directly impacts the curriculum. Motivated. You are all wonderful. Engaged. Oh my goodness, I love this. I'm going to just take this home. I am home. I'm going to take the chat. I want to say thank you, and I'm going to hand it over. You have all been extremely engaged, kind, and the way, you know what was the most powerful? Looking at the comments that you wrote about each other. That's what it's about, the collaboration and getting that collective wisdom of a group and igniting it. So thank you for this time, everybody. And I'm going to hand it back to Dr. Molly.
Thank you so much, Nancy. What I'd like to do is just say one thing. I'm going to be selfish. The why for me was the student I had in the group. She was the why. Blessing. She's such a blessing. She gave me her story working with children who are who have dyslexia, and I said, my goodness, this is my why. I would like to turn this over. Thank you, Blessing. I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Joshi, who represents the Board of Trustees, just to give a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Well, Nancy, that was so inspirational. I really loved it. I had a lecture just before yours and was feeling a bit tired, and I've been talking for an hour, which I know you shouldn't do when you're in the classroom, more or less an hour. So your lecture just taught me all sorts of wonderful things, and I think I can resonate and share with, agree with some of those ones who talk about being motivated and enlightened and so on. In such a short time, you covered so much ground. But on behalf of the trustees, thank you for your energy that you brought to this lecture, and really to steal the word that somebody used earlier about Amarichi, I see, feeling enlightened. You know, having been in education for a while, I kind of think as if I know a lot, but you taught me a fair few things. So really, on behalf of the students as well, and on behalf of the trustees, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
I feel privileged to be invited. And I, again, want to thank Dr. Molly for allowing me to have this opportunity, because to me, this is a celebration to meet so many of you tonight. And please keep in touch if you ever want. I'll come back anytime. I just love this type of connection. So again, thank you, sir. Really, it was very kind of you for those very, very lovely words. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nancy. Thank you, Kirti. Guys, if you can turn your cameras on, I'd love to do a screenshot. Just turn your cameras on and just wave to Nancy, say thank you, and let's just do a screenshot so that she can see the faces.
Hello, everybody.
Look at all the faces.
So
Look at
good.
all the faces. There we go.
Do you know what we do when we have people with their cameras on? Because I still believe that I believe that we can still virtually be in touch with each other. So everyone put their hands on the side of their boxes, and we're going to do high fives. So the count to 3. 1, 2, 3, high five. We do it again. 1, 2, 3, high five. See, we've been connected. Even though we're around the world, we've still been able to connect with the high five. So thank you, Dr. Molly.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Dr. Molly. Loved it.
My pleasure. Thank you.